While performing in the Soviet Union in the 1980s, Jon Bon Jovi was living on a prayer that he would be able to assist in keeping his manager out of jail. During a recent episode of the podcast Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, the frontman band Bon Jovi, who is 62 years old, remarked on the fact that he created history by performing in Moscow in August 1989, which was many months before the fall of the Berlin Wall in November of that same week. However, in addition to recognizing what a momentous occasion it was to perform at the Moscow Music Peace Festival, he also disclosed that he did so as part of a deal that allowed his manager at the time to resume his duties in the United States after an alleged drug bust. In order to prevent him from being arrested, I was required to travel to the Soviet Union. Jon said that my first manager had gotten into some legal difficulties due to inappropriate behavior. He was accused of smuggling a huge quantity of tons of marijuana into the United States of America, if I may be so ambitious. Next, he continued, the judge and he say, and I've got an idea, we'll go to the Soviet Union and promote peace and harmony and blah blah blah. This is the part of his plea bargain when he offers to take the young and adorable child and toss him to the wolves. In addition, I beg you, Your Honor, to stop putting me behind bars. It was necessary for me to travel through the snow to the Soviet Union and announce that we are on our way. In addition, the Grammy winner stated, we went and played while he put together a package that included some of his performances as well as some of his friends. It was a completely insane tale. Never once did he serve time in jail. On the podcast, the singer of It's My Life also went into detail on how unique it was for her to perform in the politically unstable Soviet Union in the late 1980s. You have to keep in mind that in the Soviet Union, if you even entertained the idea of having an album in the same form that we were familiar with, you would be put in jail, he remarked. When the KGB arrived at that time, there were children who had lists written down on pieces of paper that were very little. They were afraid that if they were discovered, they would crumple the paper and eat it. In order to prevent a riot from breaking out if fans had seen the catering that was provided by the Hard Rock Cafe, the singer claimed that the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow had even allocated additional security personnel to be present backstage at the event. Meanwhile, we're playing to this festival with these other bands and nobody gave an about that because the security was truly crying when they saw the kinds of food, he remarked in response. A lineup of bands from the Soviet Union, as well as groups from the United States and the United Kingdom, performed at the Moscow Music Peace Festival, which took place over the course of 2 days, on August 12 to 13, 1989. Motley Crue, Ozzy Osbourne, and Jason Bonham of Led Zeppelin were among the A-list artists who contributed to the performance, in addition to Bon Jovi. Stas Namin, an American band manager and Russian musician, was the one who organized the event, which ultimately resulted in the gathering of 100,000 supporters at Luzhniki Stadium in Helsinki, Russia. There was also a television broadcast that fans from all over the world tuned in to watch. McGee and his attorney Joe Cheshire explained in an interview with Rolling Stone in 2017 that the performance was the result of the music industry professionals' marijuana conspiracy charges in several jurisdictions. The concert was a historic event that was born out of the charges. In order to protect from receiving severe punishment, Cheshire explained that he had the idea to establish the Make a Difference Foundation, which was the organization that funded the Moscow event. He remarked, we had to suggest to the federal courts that it would be much more profitable for society for this non-profit foundation to exist and raise money and spend money for appropriate purposes than it would be to take one human being and put him in prison. He was referring to the fact that it would be much more profitable for society to have this. Consequently, that is what we did. In addition, McGee himself stated, I can't believe all you have to do is a rock show and you get off. I heard this back then, and I continued to hear it for years following. If you go and change the world and stop the Cold War, you get off, is a condition that I don't think any court would impose on you as part of your probationary period, regardless of what you did. Right, that is not something that should be made up by anyone, in my opinion. There was absolutely no connection between the two at all. The timing was the only thing that occurred to be the case. After all that, I had already reached my limit. Never before seen pictures and demos that were not previously public before I did Moscow are going to be included in the project, which will trace the rise of the hitmakers as well as the turbulent times that occurred throughout their career that spans for decades. In the upcoming documentary series titled Thank You, Good Night, The Bon Jovi Story, fans of the legendary New Jersey band Bon Jovi will have the opportunity to get even more information regarding the band's historic past. On April 26, the premiere of the 4-part Hulu series is scheduled to take place, and all of the episodes are scheduled to drop simultaneously on streaming services. In addition to documenting the ascent of the hitmakers and the turbulent moments that occurred over their career spanning for decades, the project promises to include photographs that have never been seen before as well as demos that have not been shared any time before. Since the release of the lead track, Legendary, they have provided fans with a taste of their new music.